So it it just was for me many years that I felt that there was more to life. I think a lot of people search that, and I started studying about this quite a few years ago when I was in my just early 20s, and I didn't know what I was looking for, but I also knew that I was looking for something, and never heard about this work. Meditation is something my grandmother used to do, you know, the Buddhism, you
grandmother?
know, yeah,
Oh, that's very
Buddhist practice, right?
Okay.
And I met somebody who then I joined I joined a group, and then we practiced meditation and energy. Still really early days. It was in like the late 70s, early 80s.
In London? Or?
In Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong.
And I was working in a group with 4 women, we were 4 together, and the very first time I went to this group, I didn't know what it was. I mean, what is spirit? I don't know. I had the most amazing experiences the first time. I closed my eyes, and I thought that it was big thunderstorms, and I opened my eyes, and it was sunny outside. I just remember this because, you know, I was like, you know, what's going on? Close my eyes, and then this, you know. So I said to, you know, the lady who was, you know, running that group, she used to read the tarot. I didn't know what tarot was, right? And I said, well, what is this? And she said, it's celestial sounds. It's very unusual to hear them the first time. And my friend who went with me, after a few times, I began to see these amazing images in my meditations. And we would then translate them in and interpret them into messages. That's how spirit speaks to us, is through symbols, and then we interpret the symbols, and it's all about growth. But you know, my friend who came with me was South African. She said to me, "Oh, it's so unfair." She said, "You get everything in amazing Technicolor, and I don't get anything." But you know, everyone gets their messages from spirit in different ways. Some people get it through feelings, kinesthetic. Some people are visual like me, clairvoyant. Some are clairaudient. You know, some hear, some just know. So you know, everyone sees it differently. For me now, throughout all the years, I now see it. I have everything, you know. It's a lot of information that comes, and when I'm working with someone, I already know the history before. And sometimes I ask them, "You don't need to tell me," because then I'm working blind, and I like that. I'm working blind because it means I don't have a story or a history to work with. So I make myself read it.
Is this like an intuition?
It's an intuition. It's exactly that. So, and the way that I practice was I used to do jigsaw puzzles.
Oh, I loved it as a child.
You know, and I would take 1,000 pieces just right. I would look at the picture, but then I would not look at it again. So I would make myself feel. Because the way a jigsaw works is exactly the same as life energy. It's one piece at a time, and it unfolds. And when you're not checking, the picture gives you the structure, but if you're working without structure, you put one piece. There's no point doing this piece if you don't put this piece. That's exactly life. It's got to be one step at a time. And so I worked with that group, and it's really, really early years. I never was a part of the New Age community. And I was also, I mean, that for me didn't feel right. It's got to feel right, because that is all, everything's about energy. If it feels right, I always say to people, go with the flow and let it unfold for you. And if it doesn't feel right, then that's your intuition telling you that something's not relevant. So then I joined a couple more groups after that, but it didn't feel right. And I think for me, I like learning on my own and pushing the boundaries. And there's time when learning with people and time when I learn on my own. But if I'm working too much with other people's ideas, I find it very limiting. And so that's just me. Some people like to work more like that. So after a while, I stopped working with groups and started just to work on my own with the intuition, getting all my information through the meditation. And then the challenge is to resonate, to check that it's accurate. So, you know, whenever we do this kind of work, we're always put through a lot of tests of spirit, because there's no point when it, for me, this work is a massive responsibility. Yeah, it's not a game. I mean, people come and they trust you with their lives. So for me, it's a huge responsibility. And for that, I make sure every moment I'm in integrity with spirit. And that means living your life in a certain way, certain discipline, going inwards to get the answer. Because if you're working with people, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. Spirit is 1 + 1 = 5. So we make miracles. Why? Because working with energy, bringing energy down. And so I started working with that. I have some friends I work with, very few, 1 or 2 now, but I'm always growing through the experience of life. And by watching my students and my clients go, I always say to people, they come for the healing. That's just a few times, maybe just once. After that, it's growth, because you can heal forever. Some people do. Some people do. It's like, well, why? Right? So it's like, come for the healing. Healing is just a shift in perspective. It's a movement of energy.
Oh my God, it's so much about perspective.
And then, boom, the whole of life opens up. And then it's like, okay, how do you navigate life? How do you navigate life? You've got to have your tools.
It's gonna be good.
But you have your tools.
Yeah.
You got to know one step and then what, one step and then what. And so I teach strategy. I teach about energy. People have to know what energy is. Then they have to know how to use it. Then they have to know the strategy, how to put energy together to create. It's mostly about change. It's either create change or it's to create growth. Okay, so then there are many different layers. So many different layers to the work. There's your relationship with yourself. There is your relationship with other people, your ability to see, your ability to confirm your seeing, your knowing. How much you want to stay earthbound and work with nature energy, or how much you want to go into the cosmos and work with the nature of all that is. So everyone is different. So it's the skill of the healer or the teacher is to define what is infinite and eternal. That works for that one person, for where you are, and to take that energy and to grow it and to be able to live in the moment as one with nature, but to know that we are also nature, which is earth energy, but to be able to go beyond that into the cosmos, into the soul energy, and then to bring it together. So, and then not just to watch the sunset, but to become the sunset or the sunrise, and all the different layers there to pull it together. It makes life really fulfilling. You don't have time to read. It's just so much there. And it's beautiful work. It's to watch each person unfold. I try and, especially when I'm here, I try and align my work with nature. So watch each soul and personality are 2 parts of one whole. So watch each person unfold and to touch their own joy, and then to be fulfilled and to be able to take that out is really, really rewarding. It's fabulous work. It's lovely. It's lovely to see people like you come in, especially the first time, and then to watch that open up, and then personal power shifts, and spirit only really gives us the kind of power to make that kind of change if we're able to do something with it that is not manipulative or using other people. You're only given as much power, spiritual power, as you're able to manage. It won't just give you something that you can go out and build. I mean, yeah, some people do, that's their empire. But for us that are anchoring the light and creating change, we're anchoring the light rather than, we're taking people out of the shadow into the light. Then we say we help them to step into the light of who they be. And the ones that work with me, usually they're the ones that bring change. They bring change, first of all, to themselves, and then their family, and then they're the ones who seek to take it out. And then what happens then is that we work on strategy. I sit there and I map it out. I do first a blueprint, then I do the tactical stuff, what to do, when to do, how to do. It's exactly like a business plan. So then they've got everything mapped out. They've got the big picture and they've got the precision work. And they put the two together, and then they have confidence to step forward because everyone is bringing change. And bringing change is what the world really right now needs. Change in education. There's a change in how women perceive themselves, a change in identity. It's a change in relationships. How do we relate with nature? Okay, how do we relate with technology? How do we bring our kids up? How are we going to be in business? You know, it's all about what you give rather than what you take, and living in support of each other rather than the, you know, let's see what I can grab. I mean, nothing wrong with that if you're destined to go into that part of life. But most of the ones that come to work with me are seeking a different purpose, a little bit of a higher purpose. And so they have to be watched. Because once they step out of our mutual energy space, the world is very noisy out there. And more people out there speak about the human side of life, which is, you know, noisy, than the people inside where it's more silent and purpose is defined and relevance is defined. Because if it's not relevant and it has no purpose, why would you do it? For what? You see, so really in a nutshell, that's how I came to be doing this work. And the moment I discovered the work, you know, I used to read a lot, I practice a lot, I always find my own answers. Sometimes I, you know, call a friend and we just resonate, but usually the resonance comes from, and that's where I want everyone to be, is to be independent and undependent, that you have your own wisdom and you know how it feels when it's accurate, and that's what you take forward. So it's teaching people to have that, and then writing the plans for them to take it forward and to do it, to bring it through. So it's not just, oh, it's nice to know for 2 weeks and then you go back and life goes back to how it was. It's nice to know we work together, it's sustained, it's a purpose, there's a definite goal, it's a structure, and then you fly. And then, you know, what next? It's more, you know, more, building more joy, building more peace, more community, and more love. And that's, you have to live it. Otherwise, if you don't live it, how can you teach it with authenticity? You can't, you know. So it's good. Yeah, it's good.
It's making people very confident about
confident and conscious.
Yeah,
conscious, and know who they are. There's an identity. So there's the human identity, and there's also the spiritual identity. You know, who you are when you're not in body, and what does it mean to have a body and to not have a body, to go beyond the body. Well, what does it mean, and why would you want to do that? So everyone comes with a different question. But the 3 most powerful words in this kind of spiritual energy work is, who am I? And you know, who you are in exploration to other people, to yourself, to concepts of all that is, of God or creativity. Who are you as a woman? Who are you as a man? What are the masks? What is the essence? All of this already is enormous teaching, you know, so it's many different layers that I just put whatever it is needed, keep it really simple, put it all together for whichever person comes or whichever group, because the group that comes together for the retreats, it's one soul energy. It's one soul energy. And I teach the soul energy, and the individuals will pop in to experience it, and then they'll take it out, and then they'll grow with it. So, yeah.
Wow. And is it like a group, and you see them for 1 or 2 hours in the day, or
when we have the retreats, they come together for about 3 to 4 hours, because that's focused teaching. Yeah, focused teaching.
So there will not be any individual.
They come to me in the afternoons.
Okay.
They have assignments, or early. We'll start early, about 7. We do sunrise meditations. If they want, we leave it optional, because everyone will feel it. When you're there, you're in a space where you're really connected. So you'll feel, you'll know, okay, I need to come and be there, or I need to be on my own, or I need to be doing this. So then you'll know. And then we have the afternoon, and then we'll come together for a sun. I'm always there. But the ones that want to come for a sunset meditation might be the same as the sunrise. Might not, or some might come to all of them, and some might not come to any. You'll feel it, and everything is okay. And here, what I'll do, because it's 5 days, we have 5 elements. of nature. So each day we will focus on a different element, because the elements are also about a cross matrix of a structure of life. So, we'll choose a day, one will be the wood element, one will be about air, is about anchoring creativity, earth is about, being grounded. I mean, we'll go right into the complexities of that, and then the energy for that meditation or that day will be about that aspect. Water, about emotional energy, the ability to allow flow, so really simply put. But before I do anything, I always take a reading. I read the soul energy and what needs to happen.
So that means also, I assume that everybody has a special, like in Ayurveda, there is certain dosha, you have more of the elements in you?
Well,
or?
everyone has the elements. Everything is about elements, right? And but I don't read that. It's not Ayurveda. It's what we're doing is we're taking the big picture, the grand sum total of an element, and using that to be involved or to include within ourselves to facilitate growth, but along that construct, along that structure. So that's how I'll do it. And then that will be the big picture, and then each one will have their own individual picture from that. So I'll see where the moon is as well, because the moon also has energetic connections with us. So
It will be full moon very soon, right?
it's a full moon coming, and there's a solar eclipse, I think, coming. So I've written about that for last year, and I'll use that teaching again this year. Put it on Facebook and maybe put it at the top of my website. But if you can read energy and you're able to understand what the eclipses mean, what the full moon means, what the new moon means, then you can take that energy and learn how to work with that as well, and life becomes really fulfilled, and you become very solid as an individual, because you're not just thinking trying to figure out what other people are doing. You're taking energy within and you're working with it within, and there's a different kind of strength, and there's a different kind of knowing, and a different kind of emergence and expression. And that's what people step out with, and it's called wisdom. So when you have groups of people, I call them wisdom communities, that are living together, who understand energy, intuition, spirit, nature, life, then the relationships become very much more fulfilled, and the responsibility and the accountability and living in harmony is very, very different. So, that's also really wonderful to see, because people they age differently, they look different, they think different, more solid, more grounded, and more balanced. The ability to give and take and to understand is different.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people, including me, have problems with being grounded if you're very...
Yeah, because the emotional body is still full, and that's okay. It's a journey. We've all been in. I don't teach anything I haven't been through myself, because then it's more authentic. You're teaching from the inside, because you're teaching from experience. You're not teaching something that you read, But working with the emotional energy. I've just put something on my website was about pain. I'm going to put something on about worry. I mean, these are real human attributes. If you want to decrease the pain, if you want to maybe overcome the worry, you have to practice. You have to keep doing it. If you've got a lot of maybe grief or whatever emotional energy is within you, and you just do it once for 15 minutes and then you don't do it again for 2 weeks, then it's like riding a bike. You're never going to get really good at it. But if you keep training and practicing, doing a few times a week, then eventually it's an energy. So you make that energy more concrete within you, and that becomes your energy. You see, so yeah, and that's why there's no point just doing it once. And people say to me, "Oh, I've done that. What's next?" And it's like, okay, well, what's next is that you do it again. You do it, and then some people say, "I've done it," enough that it doesn't have the same impact on me. My mind is wandering. Then I say, well, that means then you've integrated it. Then you've become one with the energy. So it's like you're driving a car, and the gears are just, it's natural, it's intuitive.
Yeah.
So you've integrated the energy. So then it means you move on to the next practice. And only then you're solid. Then you know it's time to move on. And you know, brilliant things happen. So
Yeah, I have to take time and do that practice.
Yeah.
It's only 15 minutes, right?
that's why they're only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have your tea?
I will. How lovely. You know, as an exercise, one of the things that I do when I need an answer is I say to myself, I'm just going to sit in meditation till it comes. I'm not moving. So then, you know, the signal is that, you know, most people, they sit and they say, oh, I didn't get anything. You know, nothing's coming. Because maybe you're in stress or you're in emotion, you're in something. But if you know that you're not going to be able to get up until you got the answer, then you basically sit there and the answer always comes, and it always comes much quicker because you've given yourself a boundary, do you know? Whereas I find sometimes if I don't say to myself, I'm going to sit until I get the answer, then I sit in meditation, I'm like, okay, now here comes the mind, all the mind stuff. And then it's like, oh, here comes the emotions, all the emotions. So you're in the energy and you're feeling it, right? Even though you've taken everything within. All of that has to come up first. But if you don't have the patience or in a rush, then you say, oh, I haven't got the answer, I have to go now. And then people say, well, often when I do the meditation, then my mind gets full of the shopping list or full of the things that I have to do. And they say, I can't get my mind to be quiet. And I said, well, it is because your mind is quiet that you're able to hear the shopping list. There's enough clarity. And what you do is you acknowledge the shopping list and whatever comes up, because it has a purpose. You can't fight it to say, go away, you know. You have to acknowledge that it's there, and then it's served its purpose. Then the energy will die down, and then you'll be in what we call space. There's nothing there, and it's the practice of holding the nothingness, and then the answer will arise. And how do you know the answer? You feel the resonance. Everything's about energy. So the intuition is the tool, really, to connect. It's kind of like you put, not even glasses, you just turn on the projector. And the intuition, to recognize something is true for you, it has to feel right. If it feels right, then that's your answer. So my question then to my students, to you, would be, why would you question the answer? If it feels right, why would you question it? You see? And if it feels right for that moment, and the next moment the resonance changes, then you feel again in the next moment. Then you take it moment by moment. So you keep it really, really simple. Most people, they need 150% guarantee for 3 years in the future. You can never get that.
No.
You can never
I don't
get
even know
that.
where I want to be in 3 years, to
You-
be honest.
yeah.
It's just because I will be feeling differently in 1 year or 1.5. or
That's
maybe
right.
I want
You just
different
need
things.
to know where you want to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and the next day, and then a kind of an idea where you would like to be, but nobody knows, because spirit, when we think we know, spirit always throws us a curveball. Because if we're not challenged, then we never grow.
Yes.
That is the challenge. And because life is about what we call the in-breath and the out-breath of the universe, there are times when, you know, it's time for you to move and action, and there's time for stillness. And we have to have both. You know, and it doesn't happen concurrently. You know, it's energy builds just like the 4 seasons. You know, you have time where in winter it's quiet, you know, but everything's happening underneath. And then spring is where the energy starts to uplift, move. Summer is maximum growth, and then in autumn it starts to die down. Life is exactly the same imprint as nature. So you can't expect all the time to be at maximum growth. When you have a lot of maximum growth, you have to expect that there needs to be downtime, because if you don't listen to nature, your inner nature, don't listen to the body, then spirit requires you. Something happens to create that downtime for you. And if you're able to listen, then energy winds up and then it winds down. And it's a very beautiful rhythm of movement and stillness, movement and stillness. Yeah, and it's really one day, one minute, 1 hour at a time, and that's really all you need to be focused on. Because once you try to paint too big a picture, you overthink and you become motor mouth, and then the answer what if and why becomes prevalent, and the only questions apart from who am I is the first construct. The second construct after that is what, and after that is how. First movement is what, and second is how, and the who am I is the encompassing force. Nobody never needs to ask why. Ask why is the beginners. Beginners always want to know why, but when you're full of why, you don't have time to hear the what. Why doesn't matter. It just is. You see. So that is something to think about as well as you move out. Now, everyone has a beautiful journey. Everyone has a beautiful journey. And so do you. Have such a beautiful light soul. So if you can take the gift in every experience, that makes the moment so much more special.
Oh yes, I've always been quite aware of how lucky I am in the beauty around me.
Yeah.
But probably haven't been challenged enough, so that's what
You've
I
had
needed
such
to
a
grow.
was major.
Yeah.
And it's good.
And also to be in that place while it happens, I think
Yes.
that's
And
something.
what people really don't perhaps recognize is that pain is the fastest way to growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been through it.
Yeah. You too, I guess.
Yeah.
I think if you've never experienced it, you can't connect to it really
Yeah.
in a very deep way.
It also makes you more aware of other people's pain.
Yes, exactly.
Because I hear so many people when one person says that they're in pain, they're sharing it. They often need to be heard. You know, they need to be heard so that it's witnessed, it's heard. There's no judgment. No one needs to tell the other one what to do. But I hear very often people say, I'm in whatever pain it is, okay, which is really human. And the other people say, "Oh no, you're not." Do you know? "Oh no, you're not." And it just
More
so
about compassion.
there's no, you can't, when you say I understand or I hear, what you're doing is you're saying to the person, I see you and I see your pain, and that it's seen, it's a shared thing, because once it's shared, the energy can diffuse. There's a difference between doing that and for someone to be willing to give it up, and then, or for them to keep repeating it. All right, many people, they then become the pain. If they're not able to give it up within a certain construct, then it recycles a lot, and then it becomes more difficult to shift. But even if people were not healers or didn't understand energy, all they needed to say to another is, I see, I see, I know, I hear, I understand.
Yeah.
That's really what people need,
Yeah.
is to
That's
be able to
true.
let it go and
Yes.
heal, And the rest is, it's just really the focus, the detail work. Not everyone needs to do that, Friends can just be friends, and listening doesn't happen enough. Because most people listen, but they're thinking about, what am I going to say next? How am I going to
Listen to
share my
reply.
story?
Yes.
Isn't it? How am I going to reply about me?
Listen to understand.
Listen to
reply.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for sharing
no,
that with
I
me.
love that. I love that.